Peace, y'all. I'm Rob Evans, and this is Just Curious, where the questions are the compass. Welcome to Season 2. Excited to have the opportunity to welcome you all and welcome you all back. When I started this podcast, I didn't have a brand strategy or a 5-year plan. I had questions that were messing with me, questions about fatherhood, about identity, about values, about what are you consuming and what's consuming you, about what you're still carrying and what you don't actually need anymore. Underneath everything in season 1 was one big question that was circling me. What do we owe each other as parents, as colleagues, as friends, as neighbors, as humans walking through this world with some type of integrity? By the end of season 1, I come to understand that question to be a little bit more than just, what do we owe each other? The season ended up being shaped by a service. And I tried to give that question a shape at the end of season 1 when I said, quote, "To serve is to recognize that your life is not solely your own and then to act like that truth matters." That was what I tried to leave folks with. That was my working definition of service. Not a final word, not a thesis, just the best language I had in that moment for what my life was pulling me toward. And as soon as I said it, I knew I'm not done with this yet. Season 2 is me staying with that definition, but pushing it a level deeper. Recently, I finished reading Paul Kalanithi's book, When Breath Becomes Air. If you don't know it, he was a neurosurgeon who was diagnosed with terminal cancer in his 30s. The book is this very tender, sharp account of facing the end of your life with your eyes wide open. Near the very end of the story, the book, the memoir, before the epilogue, Paul writes to his daughter, quote, "When you come to one of those many moments in life where you must give an account of yourself, provide a ledger of what you've been and done and meant to the world, do not, I pray, discount that you feel the dying man's days with a very particular kind of joy, a joy that wasn't greedy for more but rested satisfied. In this moment, right now, that is an enormous thing." Close quote. When I read that, I had to close the book for a second because in that moment, it reframed service for me. It's not just, did you have an impact? Did you change systems? Did you do something impressive enough to post about it? No, it's also whose days did you help fill with joy that could rest satisfied? Whose life felt more bearable, more meaningful, more beautiful because you were there? And do you understand that on its own is an enormous thing? So here's the guiding question for season 2, and especially for this first episode. When you come to those close moments where you have to give an account of yourself, what do you want your service in 2026 to have meant to the people around you? Not just did you achieve, did you build, what title did you hold, but whose days did you help fill with that kind of deep resting joy? Who, looking back, could say, because you were there in that season, I could breathe a little easier, right? That's the question I want you to carry into this year, and you'll hear me say it a couple more times. And let me tell you where I'm standing right now as I ask that question. Right now, I'm not working inside a school. For a lot of years, my service was tied directly to campuses. I've taught, I've been department chair, I've led, I've been, principal, middle school director. I've been a nonprofit director, the guy standing at the podium trying to stitch together a community in the middle of a season, in the middle of a year. And these days, my badge, if you will, doesn't open any doors, not to schools anyway. I'm in a transition season, serving through Project Uplift, trying to make sure students at my alma mater, Lane College, have scholarships, mentorships, and a network that'll allow them to be ready, career ready, and to hit the ground running. Additionally, I'm coaching and consulting through Evans Strategic Consulting. Obviously, I'm parenting and partnering, but I'm also writing and recording this show. And underneath all of that is this quieter question. Quote, "Okay, Rob, from here, what does it mean to serve?" Close quote. Because I'm ultimately thinking, is it still service if it's a Zoom call with a mentee? If it's a Saturday afternoon and a meeting where I'm talking to guys in Project Uplift, or if it's an email to help someone reframe their story, if it's sitting at this mic hoping that someone listening feels seen enough to keep going. And admittedly, I don't have a polished answer yet, but I do know that when I look back at the moments that feel most meaningful, they all share two things. The first thing they share is relationships. Relationships matter more than transactions, period. Hard stop. And then two, as I think about it again, I was using my particular mix of experiences and gifts to make my little slice of the world, more honest, more hopeful, and more beautiful. Those two things are how I'm going to measure my service this year. To what extent did that happen as a result of my being involved? Not just did I stay busy, but who did I help to breathe? Whose days did I help fill with joy that could actually rest? In addition to serving, a couple other words are top of mind for me. Service, awe, and joy are the three. Not just struggle, because struggle's always there. I want to say this clearly about season 2. We're not doing multiple episodes of everything is terrible and service is suffering. Yeah, there is some suffering involved in it, but we're going to tell the truth about the cost, about that there are heavy days, that there's grief, there's frustration. There are systems that do not want to change, but that's not the only story, right? We know that. The other story, the one that I don't want us to miss, is awe and joy through that service. The moment a student realizes they're smarter or braver than they thought. The text from a mentee or from someone you're coaching months later saying, Rob, it worked. The look on someone's face when they finally feel understood, or thinking about going back to Project Uplift, because of this scholarship, I could breathe this semester. Those are the types of moments that I'm looking forward to. Conversation around dinner tables that goes deeper than any of us expected. The moments that really make that hard stuff disappear. Because they all are little ledgers, if you will, proof that your life is touching other lives in ways that actually matter. So this season, when we talk about service, we're going to keep asking, where does service feel like? Where does service feel like joy? Where does it make you say, this is good work? Where does it open you up to awe and wonder? So here's what you can expect. Some episodes will sound just like this one, just me sitting with the question and letting you overhear the wrestle as I navigate it. Other episodes will bring in people I trust, friends working in schools and alongside them, folks serving in nonprofits, churches, and community spaces, and people who are building things quietly that matter a lot to the people that they're actually for. We're not bringing them on to perform or to promote. That's not the charge. We're bringing them here to bringing them on to ask, how do you serve? When you picture giving an account of yourself one day, what do you hope your service will have meant? And where have you already seen that kind of satisfied joy in the lives around you? Next episode, you'll hear from my friend Dr. Chris Dennis, who's assistant head of school at one of the local independent schools here in the greater Los Angeles area. Chris is someone I have a great deal of respect for, not just because of his title, but because of the way he shows up for students, for families, for colleagues, and for friends. We've sat around tables together. We've vented in group text threads. We've both done work in the access world, me with the Independent School Alliance and him with A Better Chance. We've seen each other in real life and not just on LinkedIn. I trust dude. Our conversation will be about, again, where does service feel like joy in school communities since he's a school leader, and how do we build more of that in 2026? And from there, you'll hear from other guests across this season as we explore service in different corners of life, service in our families, service in our faith community. Service is where we're going. So get ready for it. But before we get into any of that, I want to hand you 3 questions to sit with. And I've been foreshadowing what these questions are throughout. And you don't have to answer them today. You definitely don't even have to answer them perfectly. Just let them ride with you for a bit. The first one is, again, how do you serve right now in real life this week? Who is better off because you exist and you showed up the way that you do? That's the first question. The second one is when you imagine giving an account of yourself one day, what do you want your service in 2026 and beyond to have meant to the people around you? Not abstract humanity. I mean, actual faces, your kids, your students, your clients, your neighbors, your friends, your parents, your partner. What do you hope they could honestly say about what it was like to have you in their life this year? And then the third question or series of questions, I don't ever have just one simple short question. It's always a series of questions. Where have you already seen that kind of joy show up because you served? Maybe it was a small thing, like a ride, a meal, a text, a favor. Maybe it was something bigger. Somewhere in your life, there's already a moment where someone could say, because you were there, my days were different. Ladies and gents, that's an enormous thing. And I think at times I take that for granted, and I'm trying to be more present to receive that when people say it to you, that because you were here, my days were different. Those are the questions I'll be carrying with me this season. I'm excited to invite you all to be in conversation with me, and not just by listening. If you're willing, I'd love to hear a bit of your ledger. If there's a story where you can see that your service, your presence, your effort, your care helps someone's days with a little more joy, help fill someone's day with a little more joy, I'd be honored to hear it. You can send a short voice note, about a minute, or write it out. I may share some of these stories anonymously or with permission in future episodes, not as content, but as evidence that quiet, faithful service is happening all over the place. Because guess what? It is. So that's what we're doing in season 2. We're going to stay curious about service. We're going to look for awe, and we're going to make room for joy. And we're going to try together not to discount the enormous holy fact that you can fill someone's days with a joy that rests satisfied. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you all already for the ways you're serving, even if no one sends you a certificate or a thank you for it. We'll pick this up next time with my conversation with Dr. Chris Dennis. Until then, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and remember, the questions are the compass. Peace, y'all.